How's it going, everyone? A long time ago on my YouTube channel, I put out a poll basically asking if you guys wanted me to do a ghost stories video in regards to paranormal experiences I've had myself because I used to upload a lot of ghost videos. And it being Halloween, I figured this is the perfect time to do it. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and cover it. So, around 2014, 2015, I started a new job working as a janitor for my local grocery store. It was the graveyard shift, and my schedule was from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. I can't remember the days off I had because our schedules were fluctuating just due to staff turnover and the usual things. First year was just your typical work, do your usual shift, go home for the day, and then come back at night when the store was closing. We were all locked in once the closing shift manager left for the night. Now, let me explain our shift checklist and what it looked like when I worked there. Our daily shift checklist entailed the following. I probably should also mention that on Tuesdays, all available staff would gather around an aisle and we would pick a aisle to strip wax off and then deep clean before applying a fresh coat of floor wax on the linoleum floor that we had on there. We would work on this part of the job until 3 a.m., which was the witching hour, and then two of us would break off to go take care of the main store. One person would do the usual on the sales floor, while another worker would be cleaning out the meat department. Sales floor tasks would consist of using a dust mop to mop up and down each aisle and gather all of the debris and dirt, the usual stuff when you're sweeping. And then we would put our gathered over to the main door to sweep and dump into the main trash can that would get taken out when morning shift came on shift. Mop by the meat department, coffin shelves, deli, around the bread and pastry aisle, and then around the registers where the floor scrubber would have issues getting into. It was a big machine. We would also run said floor scrubber up and down each of the aisles. After we took our lunches, we would run a propane-powered floor burnisher down the aisles we had just scrubbed to both really dry it out as well as restore the sheen on the floor to make it look new, as a lot of carts were old and beat up and would either get caught on floor if you turned a certain way or whatever, and would just cause marks, scuffs, all that. Just also combined with regular floor traffic. And then we would run one more dust mop to clean off the dusted wax that the buffer pad from the floor buffer would leave behind, as well as any debris from shelves that was trash that got blown around, as this floor buffer would really blow stuff around due to the RPM. It was really high. Meat department tasks included taking apart the bandsaw, meat grinder, deli slicer, and rotisserie cooker, deep cleaning and bleaching the main meat prep table before they processed the meat and put it on the meat coffin shelves. Cleaning each machine's parts out in the sink, as well as using the soap, detergent, and sanitizing to, yeah. With all of that being covered, let's get to the main part of the story. It wasn't really until midway through 2014, 2015 that we really started seeing a lot of activity, and it really started to get weird. A couple of examples I can give you are there would be nights that when we were working that some of us would claim to see black shadows or apparitions out of the corners of our eyes, and we all saw this. There were even times we'd randomly see people walking down the aisles while we were working when no one was supposed to be in the store. Whether we were mopping the registers or running the floor scrubber or even working in the meat department. Hearing disembodied voices out of nowhere when I was working, even when I was starting to work by myself, which started happening a lot due to the turnover rate. When mopping by the handicapped accessible express register, I heard a woman's voice say, "You missed a spot," which startled me. But I went to go look at the as seen on TV section by the old Western Union bench we had because there was a cheap DVD player and TV that constantly ran asset seen by TV ads on this single DVD. About each video was about 30 seconds long to promote the products we were selling on that shelf. And I had stood around for about 5 minutes or so. The current ad that was being displayed was a smoothie cup, and I watched the entire thing multiple times just to see if there was anything in that video that had that same line of "you missed a spot," thinking it was an ad, but that wasn't the case. After waiting for the 5 minutes and I didn't see anything to give context or a clue of that missed a spot line, I had heard nothing and I was a little spooked, but I just thought maybe I was a little sleep deprived, and then I went back to the main Bay Area to get the floor scrubber going. Um, there was also a time when I was working in the meat department, and about 2 hours into my shift, I was cleaning off the meat prep table, and I started feeling like I was being watched. But I was just chalking that up again to me being paranoid because I was also listening to a paranormal podcast on my Zune HD at the time. And I thought that combined with being tired because it was a night shift was causing me to just hallucinate. However, by the time I got midway through cleaning the table, I started seeing this man walking up and down the meat aisle where you're not technically supposed to be if you're a customer. And this is where the butchers would put out freshly packaged and processed types of meat into the meat coffin. I kept trying to ignore it, but the more I did try to ignore it, the more vivid it got, and it started to look like a combination of an electrician slash lineman and a miner. And the figure started looking more and more vivid, moving further and further toward where I was, and then I saw it disappear. And then I saw it again down the main road towards the greenish door that was closed. Example on the screen of what the area at the time looked like. There was about 2 to 3, I think 4 windows there that you could see out of. This is how they used it to basically attend to customers. But anyway, I saw this figure moving up and down this meat row. I saw it walk towards that green door you see in that picture, and it. As soon as I looked my eyes over to that location, it disappeared, but that green door basically started swaying, and I noticed that all the other doors started swaying too, which something to note with these doors is that if someone like even pushes one of those open, they all start moving on their own due to the change of air pressure in that meat department. It's just how it is, and that's actually what I used to tell whenever my coworkers were trying to sneak up on me to spook me. There's another one that happened also. I think this one took place in late October or November of 2015. It's been too long, but we were working on a Tuesday night, and I went to run the wax stripper bucket into the floor sink by the produce department, and I saw sticking out like a sore thumb in the meat aisle a boot print that had been pretty much imprinted through dirty mop water. Like, it didn't match any of our work boots. It was just a dirty left boot print in the middle of the meat aisle. I did originally have a picture of it, but that's been lost due to time, unfortunately, or I would have included it in this video as well. This was one of the more unsettling experiences, and the lead janitor and I had been working. We had heard footsteps in the top floor of the store, which was really just an attic slash this is where all the lights and all the wiring for the store in general was at, and occasionally storage. This was basically like locked down, and if you tried to get into the store, you would set off an alarm, and there was an upstairs roof hatch so you could get into this attic, but that was also pretty much locked up, so if anyone tried to break in, that would pretty much trip the alarm and alert the store and the security company that the store was going through. So, we had heard a lot of like footsteps, like going like doosh, 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 and we both heard it. It was clear as day or night, I'd rather say, but Anyway, that pretty much was another experience that we had. Like, it happened pretty often too. We would hear footsteps, and by the time we were getting sick of it, we went up. We found a service ladder in the bay area of the store, and we went up there and like looked around to investigate, thinking maybe a tweaker had found a way to break in to steal something and then sell it for their habit. I'm not judging, but anyway, it was pretty consistent for a couple of days. And by the time we had alerted managers when they got in at around 6 in the morning, um, they were just like, "Holy shit! Why for real? That's spooky. Why didn't you call?" And we just explained that we didn't want to wake them for something like that in case they thought we were crazed or sleep deprived. Um, Another one is this was a solo night I was working on December, a week before Christmas, and this one personally really frightened me. I was eating my lunch. It was just a simple cup of soup with some Reese's sticks and a bottle of milk with a Dr. Pepper for a late night boost because it was 3 a.m. and I was really starting to feel tired. Like I was nodding off and I was feeling pretty lethargic. It was also really cold that night because we had gotten snow previously. We had a space heater in that break room, but that little tiny space heater could only do so much, but it was still something. But I had to take my break, and it was store orders, and I took a minute to stretch to wake myself up, and then as I was doing that, I just heard the loudest, angriest, aggressive boot stomping sounds running up break room stairs, and these stairs were really old wood that you could hear the cracks and creak every time you step on it. It would sound like on wood, and I grabbed the nearest wrench that we had in the room for service stuff, like for the fridge and all that. And this thing was heavy, so if you grabbed and tried to hit someone, you would do some damage. I went and camped out by the break room entrance where that staircase was, and I was waiting. And as I peered over, there was no one there. When I looked over at the upstairs overhead to the bay, which you look down there and that's where all the shipment and receiving is. I saw someone that looked like they were in a very faded red shirt, um, red jet, pardon me, white T-shirt and denim pants with a red jacket, and walking towards the store display room. And I ran towards it with the same wrench, and no one. So I have a feeling that someone in there was either screwing with me and knew a good hiding spot, or there was something else there. Um, just no one there to begin with. Finally, this story takes place before I quit because I had shortly a month after moved to Idaho with my girlfriend at the time, and me and a new coworker whom we'll call him T. He was called. I'm not gonna call his real name or his nickname just to not identify him in case he ever stumbles upon this video, but for privacy reasons. But he was kind of kooky in a way. Like he tripped over stuff that offended him, but to an extreme degree. Like he even admit he earned that nickname because of his nickname. Like he tripped out a lot. Anyway, me and T were working a night. It was just me and him, and right when I can't remember what time it was, but I was walking by the meat department. And I was going towards the produce floor saying to do something, and I had heard him yelling basically in a profanity warning. But basically, I heard him say, "Yo, get the fuck out of here! The fuck you trying to sneak up on me for, you little joker?" I didn't know who he was talking to, and then he came by the produce floor sitting next to me and asked me if I was trying to fuck with him in the meat room. I told him no, I hadn't been anywhere near the meat department, and then I asked him why, and he said that, and he kept being super certain that he saw someone, like, the other lead janitor was off that night, and then he just said he had seen a figure that looked like either me or the lead janitor, and he thought we were fucking around with him, and that his girlfriend had done something earlier that day to piss him off, and he was in the mood and already ready to go off. and he just wanted to be left alone. I told him that I had not been inside or close to it and had no reason to be there. It was cold, and water from the water and mist pretty much made the whole meat room unbearable to be in, but he didn't care. He was a little spooked, and then he just shouted into the store, "Hey, could all you ghosts or whatever knock it the fuck off? I'm not in the mood for your BS." We laughed it off, but we were a little disturbed, and then I can't remember if it was another night or the night prior, the same night, but as I was walking towards the store entrance and I was looking at a pack of top round steaks for dinner that night, I think it was my Friday that night, I just wanted to celebrate a little bit for something can't fully remember there. And I saw something moving around in the meat room window, and same photo I showed earlier, and saw the deli slicer move on its own. I just grabbed the meat and booked it out. And there is one more that I can remember, and this one is kind of brief, but it's small enough, but I'll include it. But there was one day where we were working, and then we heard the loudest crash in the laundry detergent aisle, and there was a specific jug of Tide laundry detergent just laying in the middle of the aisle, and it was the last one that we had in stock that day, and that was tucked way back. So, like, someone had to have grabbed it and thrown it, and it was pretty aggressive. Like, the bottle had a slight dent in it, and some of the other bottles were moved away, and there was no one in the store to see that. And he even asked me, he's like, "Even on your skin, you're promising you didn't do that?" I'm like, "Nah, dude, I had no reason to do that. I'm just as freaked out as you are." Alright, and this one will be my final story. This will be called The Possible Ghost of a Recently Deceased Coworker. This takes place in winter of 2017 when I had started a new job at a truck stop in Idaho. I started this job in August or September 2017. I was also a janitor there due to my background in janitorial, and I met some people in the food court, including this nice elderly lady who enjoyed the food court. I'm not going to post her name out of privacy, but we're going to refer to her as Syl, to keep it brief. Syl loved working the sandwich shop that was in this truck stop in the food court, and she pretty much, it was her favorite location in the store. Um, about a couple months into working at this truck stop, Syl had to leave out of town and go out of state to attend a family member's funeral. And unfortunately, after a few weeks or so, we had gotten notified, especially by my girlfriend at the time, that Syl had unfortunately been killed in a vehicle incident, or not incident, accident, I apologize. And a lot of people were very torn up about it because she had been there for a long time and she was pretty loved by the staff there, and it was, you could tell the air in that truck stop was just, yeah, like, it was somber, it was depressed. I don't blame them, it was all understandable because a lot of people there knew her well and loved having her around. It was tragic in general. One of my coworkers was trying to figure out a way to take a 5 a.m. shift off for a funeral prep, and I volunteered to relieve her to tender the funeral as Syl was one of her lunch buddies. I understood, and I also felt that was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, an hour later that day of the funeral, that I was late an hour, but they understood, but just told me to carry on. About an hour or so, around 8 or 9 a.m., which is the time the funeral took place, I went downstairs into the receiving bay to, I think I was looking to grab some tornadoes and some hot dogs for the roller grill they have there. And as soon as I went down there, I saw this shadowy outline, apparition looking kind of thing that looked very similar to Syl. And I was just like, holy shit. I thought, is this her? And I, like, took it I it basically looked like it was her in her uniform for the sandwich shop, and I saw what looked like her outline going towards the walk-in cooler for both the sandwich shop and the chicken joint that this truck stop had in its general on the sales floor, and there was also a washer and dryer that we used for when we clean showers and stuff for the truckers. And I pretty much followed it from the little apparition from up the stairs all the way up to near the cooler. But I saw her like as soon as I got into the little laundry mat that it was in there for us. I didn't see the outline anymore, but I heard footsteps going up to the restaurant, and I thought maybe this was Syl's way of saying goodbye, and she was moving on after that, because I was repeatedly told that she loved working at that sandwich shop. It was pretty much like her baby, and like if she was put on any other job that day, she was in a bad mood because she really liked working in that sandwich shop. And I didn't tell anyone that day because I didn't want to cause any distress or emotions or anything. I did not want to cause anyone to cry or anything. I hate that. And then I did tell some people a few months later, and a couple of people thought that that may have been her saying goodbye as well. And we never saw anything related to her again after that, so we believe she may have moved on. And that's that story there. For the stories I have, thanks for watching. I apologize if I'm all over the place with this. I'm not usually good at doing these, but I figured it was time to honor this poll I posted years ago, and yeah, it's Halloween, perfect time to do it.